All right, y'all. Welcome to the Rant Society. I'm talking about Joker 2019 today. I actually recorded this rant like a month ago when I first watched the movie. The entire rant, it wasn't overly long. It was just like a 10 to 15 minute standard rant, but I realized I was not recording about two-thirds of the way through and just got really angry and then went to bed and then didn't do it for like a month. So I'm very sorry about that, but hopefully I'll be able to touch on all the main points that I did in that initial rant, which, as I said, I do not have access to the audio of. But Joker 2019, this was per the request of Hermit's Nook on my Patreon. If you guys want to request a rant, join the Patreon, join the Kafka army, become part of the NMA crew, and I'll do it. But as far as this movie itself goes, I frankly wasn't the biggest fan. It's definitely a movie that stands above many others in terms of its like visual direction. Just overall direction, not even just visual. The acting, a lot of the less... Well, I guess that wouldn't be a fair way to put it. I will just say, yeah, a lot of the presentation aspects were things that I enjoyed thoroughly. There were a lot of cool scenes. There were honestly some funny moments. There was some good dialogue. I didn't mind all of it. I actually thoroughly enjoyed the dialogue, but the one of the main things I took issue with was the monologue. It's definitely a very serious movie. It takes itself very, very seriously, pretty ironically, and there are a lot of really dramatic monologues from the Joker about his tortured condition and things like that. And it's not anything that I take issue with, and it's not anything that I think they're necessarily trying to glorify as actually a reasonable, sane way of dealing with these things. I don't think those things at all, but it just isn't that entertaining to me. It feels like there's one idea. This is a very thematically tight movie, and there's one idea that it's really trying to nail, really trying to drive home in terms of how society treats mentally ill people and how society has gotten to a point where so much that's happening is just totally absurd, and so many people are just subjected to horrible things for pretty much no reason, just as for the way society is constructed. I just wasn't that interested in seeing a full movie about that, I guess, which is interesting because I enjoyed Techno Lies. I enjoyed plenty of other pieces of media which cover very similar subject matter, but I just, for whatever reason, seeing Joker talk about it, despite the fact that it was an absolutely phenomenal performance acting wise, I didn't really care that much. It's it was all the Joker's movie. It was all about him and his legendary rise to insanity and shooting that one guy, or not shooting him, I don't know. But maybe because I partially had it spoiled, maybe because it just wasn't for me, maybe because I didn't have that extra context of being a Marvel fan and having my expectations subverted as to what a movie with the Joker in it should look like. For whatever reason, I just didn't get that same impact. I thought a lot of the monologues were a little bit cringy, if not somewhat redundant. And I'm being very negative, but overall, I still would say I enjoyed the movie. A few things that I noticed that stuck out to me were, first, the repeated mention of oversized rats as sort of a way to communicate just how disarrayed society, I keep saying society, how disarrayed the city of Gotham, was it Gotham? The city of whatever is. And it's interesting that they used the example of rats in particular, mutant rats. I'm pretty sure they mentioned it 3 or 4 times throughout the movie, because it reminds me of the behavioral sink, which was a study that people did on rats a very long time ago, where essentially they made sure that the rats had constant access to food, water, mating and everything like that, and then observed how those rats behaved over however long of a period of time. And what happened was the rats basically went crazy after having all of their necessities met and never having to go out and spend their time working to get those. They essentially just went crazy, started attacking each other, started engaging in all sorts of hedonistic behaviors, and just pretty much going off the deep end and becoming little cute absurdist rats. And I think that may have actually been. Oh, that was the door. Sorry. I think that may have actually been an intentional, not necessarily reference, but I think that was actually an intentional connection because it's so similar to the idea of what the movie's talking about in terms of society progressing to a point to where things just we're so far from where we began that things don't even totally make sense anymore. There's a lot of stuff that is just absurd, and the fact that people have to deal with it is absurd, and of course that's terrible. The movie has a lot of funny moments, like I said. I knew it when the little dude came in to Joker's apartment. I knew he wasn't going to be able to freaking get the lock, and I was thinking that the whole scene. I'm like, oh god, he's going to have to leave, and he has to unlock the door. Oh boy, and then it happened, and I felt vindication. I've only felt a few times in my life, but a couple of little things like that. I thought it was interesting that they did the final scene with such a, not static in a bad way, but there was essentially just like a solid, really long shot or really long pair of a few shots that were depicting that entire last interview on the talk show. And it was very dramatic. It was very tense. It felt like it was leading up to something, and unfortunately I had been spoiled for the final scene, so I knew what it was leading up to. But I definitely thought that was an interesting approach, and it's just a great, fun way to end the movie, I guess. Overall, it's a movie that I didn't necessarily love, but I respected the production of, and there were a lot more finer details and little things that I enjoyed that I don't remember because I watched the movie like over a month ago. I'm very sorry, please forgive me, but that's kind of what I thought about Joker. It wasn't my favorite movie, wasn't my least favorite movie, but I'm glad I finally watched it because it's such a common just talking point in every circle that I run, like that I'm a part of. So I'm definitely glad I watched it. I'm excited to watch another movie as per Hermit Snook's recommendation next month. And yeah, that's about everything. Stay guru, enemies.